This is the Digital Savage Experience Podcast, hosted by Roman Prokopchuk, bringing you all things digital marketing, tech, business, and motivation. What's stopping you from becoming relentless in all aspects of life? Are you ready to become a digital savage? Let's get into today's episode.
Hey everyone, this is Roman Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience. Today I have with me Jason Kramer. He's the founder of Cultivize, and he has 20 years of marketing and advertising experience. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Roman. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So how did you get into the field that you're in? How did you end up founding your company?
Sure. That's a great question. So 15 years ago, I had a former company that was a branding and web development business. And in that company, I had seen a common issue that a lot of companies had that we were both working with and actually talking to as prospective businesses. And the issue, Roman, was that companies have a challenge to understand where their marketing dollars are being spent. More importantly, what is the return on that investment? And I also saw that they didn't always have a process to find those prospects, right? And then once they have them, be able to nurture them through the sales process, ultimately converting them to a customer. So back in last year of 2018, I actually sold my old prior company and started Cultivize. And Cultivize's mission is to help companies better leverage their internal sales and marketing teams. And if they don't have an internal team, an external team certainly works just as well, but able to help leverage their ability of what effort they're putting in on a day-to-day basis to understand where they should spend their time, which prospective customers are more engaged than others, and then be able to pinpoint when those people are showing the highest level of engagement so they could actually convert them with more precision and be able to onboard new customers with greater growth for their business.
No, that's awesome. And the previous company that you sold, was that also in the marketing field?
It was, yes.
Nice. So what made you get into marketing to begin with? Was that something you always done, or was that kind of your, career track to begin with?
Yeah, well, there's a funny story with that. So, as a young kid, I always loved kind of building things, and I was very kind of creative. I loved art and drawing. And for a while, I thought I wanted to get into, of all things, medical illustration. And I thought of that when I was in high school. And I said, well, what better way to kind of figure out if that's something I wanted to do? So I actually volunteered for a local ambulance corporation and realized that what I would needed to do in order to be a successful medical illustrator, I didn't really have the stomach for or really kind of, as passionate as I thought I had. So I actually went to Syracuse University after high school, enrolled in their visual and performing arts program, and really wanted to just explore the options. I wound up getting into something called communication design, which is similar to advertising in that it's more focused on branding and messaging and communicating with both words and the visual kind of components. So out of college, I worked in agencies in New York as a graphic designer. And then back in 2003, I formed my first company. The reason I did that, Roman, is that I saw that there was a kind of an opportunity where businesses could either go to an agency if they had a large money to pay for a retainer, or they would hire freelancers, freelance web designer, freelance copywriter, etc. So I actually opened up the company to be a boutique kind of agency model where we can provide a full suite of services to those smaller businesses that couldn't afford the agency and give them the peace of mind that everything was being done from the same perspective and the same team. So that's how I kind of got into the industry.
No, that's awesome. And what are kind of some of I've been on the agency side, so I know all the pain points, but when you started your first company, what were some of kind of the growing pains that people can, learn from, some of the things you may experience starting a company?
Sure. There's certainly a handful. Many years ago, I was working with a business advisor who coined the term skillpreneurs. A skillpreneur, I don't know, are you familiar with that term?
I may have heard it, but you can explain it for the audience as well.
Sure. So a skillpreneur is somebody who's really good at something, whether you're, a masonry, an architect, whatever it is your skill is, you decide you want to build a business around the skill. So you're not quite an entrepreneur who's set out to build a business, sell it, move on and build another business and continue down that track. So I found that I was definitely in the skillpreneur category. And I will say a couple of the challenges I found. One was understanding profit margins, is something that I learned not day one, but certainly once I understood how to kind of measure my profit margins and build my pricing around project margins, I was a lot more successful as a company, because I was doing it in the beginning as a passion, but of course any business owner wants to be profitable and make money. So that is one thing to understand your profit margins, I think is critical. Another thing is, really identifying what makes you unique and niche in your business. One of the biggest challenges I've always had with clients we've worked with is if they're too broad and they say, oh, Jason, we can sell our product or service to anybody. Well, we both know, Roman, that you can't sell to everybody, right? You have to have a specific audience, and you can have multitude, right? You can have, we sell to this group, we also sell to this group and a third group, but your marketing has to be different for each separate group. Otherwise, it's really not going to address their pain points and show the value you provide. So I would encourage anybody listening today to think about, what is your niche focus? What can you be amazing at? Because it's better to be amazing at one or two things than be mediocre at 15, 20 different things. So that would be the second piece of advice. And the third piece is really about establishing relationships with other partners. They don't have to be official partners, but people that can be resources. I always made sure that I was never the smartest person in the room. I always wanted to make sure that I surrounded myself with people that had different insights, different perspectives, so we could bring that value back to our customers.
No, I agree. And I think, like you said, the skillpreneur, that obviously transcends to what a company does and sells, which is funny because you do have to be good at least one thing. So even in marketing, so I started with search engine optimization. That was kind of my pillar and foundation. I built around that. And I think it's also important for companies and clients and brands to have a core, foundation. What are they based on? This is the direction. This is kind of the one thing that they're absolutely great at, targeting a specific audience. And then they can build products and services as add-ons on top of that, but have kind of a central focus.
Absolutely.
So in terms of your current company, what can you explain to businesses and brands of all sizes how automation is, very important in 2019 and even moving into the future with technological advances and, scaling of teams and that kind of thing?
Sure, absolutely. So like any technology, it's all about what is the strategy of how to leverage that technology and then who's going to be behind it, right? In terms of the internal people at a company to make sure it's being leveraged. So marketing automation isn't something new, it's been around for years. There's a lot of different players out there that are providing marketing automation technology. The challenge with marketing automation technology is that it's technology, right? So if you don't know how to use it, you might think it's very simple to use. And while it's not difficult, you need to have understanding of what it can do in terms of creating that automated process to identify prospective customers that are coming into your world as a company, being able to nurture them with what we call email drip campaigns. So that's like setting up rules to say, if this prospect visits this page of the website or does this or watches our video or whatever the case may be, we want them to get, the email on day one, another email on day 5, etc. And then also, there's a multitude of other things that come into that with the identifying what is your sales pipeline process, right? So once you have a prospect that says, hey, Roman, I'm interested in what you're selling. I'm interested in your search engine optimization services, or whatever the case may be. Well, what's the next step, right? So you need to have that sales process in place. Otherwise, the marketing automation isn't really going to be able to do its job. So my advice, we actually have a playbook that we offer, a 20-page playbook that companies could look to see what does it take to actually implement a successful marketing automation strategy. They can, take those steps, if you will, and apply it to something they're already using, or they can even use the guide as a resource to say, okay, this is what's going to be required. Do we have the internal time and expertise and personnel to actually make this work? So just to answer your question, my advice to anybody that's looking into marketing automation, you want to make sure you have two things, in my opinion. First is you want to make sure you have a sales team. It could be one or two people, but there has to be someone dedicated day in, day out that's focused just on business development, because marketing automation requires a personal touch. As you and I both know, it's very rare, especially in a service-based business, that someone's going to buy something without talking to somebody first. So you definitely have to have somebody that's going to take ownership of that responsibility. The second thing is that, sometimes people think that marketing automation is going to generate leads, and it doesn't in many cases, or if not in all cases. You have to have some type of lead generation effort in place, and whether that be digital marketing, whether you're doing webinars, whether you're going to a dozen trade shows a year, whatever you're doing to generate leads, there has to be something in there to keep the funnel filled. So we always tell clients, if you're building your business based on referrals and networking, marketing automation is likely not going to be a good fit. Reason being is that that's not sustainable, right? You don't know when you're going to get your next referral, right? You don't know what's going to happen at a networking event, and you can't build a model for success off of that. And certainly we both know, Roman, many businesses that have built their business, right? Even into the millions of dollars based on those types of connections, right? But at the same time, marketing automation as a technology is really designed when you have a steady flow of leads coming into your world.
Oh, I agree. And besides the sales team and kind of the size of the company, do you see anything else, or with the type of clients you work with, like have they reached a certain amount of revenue, or are they at a certain point where they want to scale, or they have an internal marketing team? Do you see a commonality in the types of companies you work with?
We do, and that's a great question. So there's a couple of factors. One, we typically see businesses that are north of $1 million in revenue have the means to afford marketing automation. Reason being is that, we like to see clients that are probably spending on average about, call it $25,000 to $50,000 a year on marketing. And that's not with us, that's with another marketing company, right? Or if they're doing marketing internally, they're putting that much resource into lead gen. So a company that's usually under $1 million is not going to have the budget to spend, 25 to 50K a year on marketing. So that's kind of one of the parameters. Another thing that we see is companies that have either the need for a high volume of customers. So businesses that say, hey, Jason, we only need 5 clients a year because each client we're going to bill out at, $50,000, $100,000, whatever the number is. We don't need a lot of customers. There's no need for marketing automation if you don't need a lot of customers. So people that do need a lot of customers, marketing automation is a good fit. We also see it a good fit for companies that have a higher price tag on whatever it is that they're selling, or there's a longer sales process. So I always kind of joke to say that, if you're selling flowers and you have a beautiful bouquet of flowers for $25, it doesn't take a lot of much incentive for somebody to want to buy those flowers, right? If you're in the market for flowers, you're going to make that purchase without really doing any research, without kind of comparing it to other options that are out there. You're going to just go to a website and make that purchase. Those types of businesses usually do not benefit as highly. Now, that being said, there's a caveat to that. If you have a huge customer base in an e-commerce world, you can use marketing automation for what we call remarketing, right? So you could identify what the trends are of customers, what they're buying, and then serve up content to them based on their buying habits. So the same way when you go to checkout, and any website that's e-commerce nowadays will say, you also may like this, Jason, because you picked these shoes. These are some other apparel items you might like that go with the shoes, right? We've all seen that. So we can do that same type of thing with email delivery. We could, instead of sending out a mass email to an entire customer base saying, here's all the new products we have this month, right? We could actually tailor each email individually to each contact based on what either the prior buying habit has been or what the current search habits are. So if we know that someone's looking at necklaces on a jewelry website versus earrings, we might want to send an email just about, hey, check out our new necklaces, because we know that customer is more likely to make a purchase on a necklace than other products. So those are some of the scenarios that we typically see.
No, that's great information. I mean, I know a lot of companies, big and small, want to automate certain, aspects of their, marketing efforts that would, dramatically add value and save time, but they may not know in terms of, if they should, based on what they're currently spending or where they're at in terms of kind of internal team structure.
Yeah.
So in terms of kind of personal and professional development, what's one thing that you may have struggled with in the past that you've turned into a kind of a pro or a win?
Sure. So, I mean, as I mentioned, I started the business, my former business, even this current business, with no partners. So what I struggled with, and I think any solo kind of owner to a company struggles with, is bouncing ideas off of people and having a resource when you don't have a partner, if you will, to the company. And so what I recognized early on in my former company, and I still practice today, is having a resource around me to be able to bounce ideas. So I've worked with business consultants. I'm actually in what you guys can say a business community group now, where we have a video call every week for an hour with a group of other business owners, and we kind of bounce ideas off of each other. We help each other problem solve. So I would say for anybody listening today that's a solo business owner without any partners, you definitely want to look at what communities you can join, what organizations or business consultants are out there that kind of fit your specific needs, and then to work with somebody on a steady basis. Because I will tell you that once I did that and pivoted to that decision, business exponentially grew and things improved, not only on the top line, revenue number, but operationally things improved. There's the nature of the business. In fact, me starting this new business, Cultivize, was a result of one of these or a series of these calls with my business community. I was looking for new ways to do different things with my former company. And then through these conversations, it dawned on me that I really need to start a new business if I want to do what I want to do. And that's why I sold the old company to start a new company, based on those conversations.
No, I agree. I think it's important to have people around you that you can at least, like you said, bounce ideas off. But I think also as a solopreneur, it's hard to do that sometimes, which I admire you for, finding community to do so, because sometimes you may feel like you have all these ideas, you tell them to somebody and they may take your ideas or, run with them. And I think as a solopreneur or entrepreneur, it's tough to trust in a way.
No, that's absolutely true. You have to have confidence that, who you're talking with has your best interest at heart, and you have their best interest at heart as well.
No, I agree. So what's kind of one thing you can leave with the audience, either recommendations, personal or professional?
Well, I would say that, recommendations would be, think about your target audience, leverage things that are already at your fingertips. One of the biggest tools that we use as a company is LinkedIn. A lot of people I don't think are leveraging LinkedIn to its fullest potential. And if you're a company like us, who we utilize technology in part of what we deliver, if you go into LinkedIn and if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I know not everybody that's listening may have, but I will say it's worth the investment of roughly $80 a month, because what it allows you to do is be able to search companies instead of people, and then you can see information about the company. So for example, one of the strategies we use is be able to see what type of technologies are companies using. Are they using competitive platforms to what our platform offers? Are they using things that would make them a potential candidate for us based on that technology? So that would be one piece of advice I would offer is, think about your audience, think about how you can leverage the tools and advanced search filters that LinkedIn offers, because that is certainly a powerful way to generate new opportunities. And ourselves, as a company, we on average, will generate, 150 to 200 new potential leads a month with not a whole lot of effort. Yes, there's effort put in, but it's really effort at the beginning to create the formula to how to identify these people. And then there's an automation component we have with our, technology to be able to continually identify those people and talk to them and nurture them. So that would be the piece of advice I would provide, Roman, is, look at LinkedIn, look at other things that are out there that provide value, and see how you can leverage them to continually grow your business.
No, I agree. And I think in the B2B space, LinkedIn is underutilized. Things like LinkedIn groups, some of the features that LinkedIn is releasing in terms of live video, and in general, LinkedIn engagement is increasing. So even if you're looking for potential clients or just sharing your content, and the good thing about LinkedIn, you can export your connection information. So you can basically data dump. If you have 20,000 connections, you can export what their current name, number, work email is, and have that information as well.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. A lot of people don't even realize that option is there. So I think, like you said, it's definitely a under leveraged resource. And it's really, I would also just encourage people to think about who it is that they're selling to. That's the most fundamental thing, regardless of what you're doing from a sales perspective or a marketing perspective. We actually have a worksheet. In fact, I just did a workshop a couple weeks ago where we took people through our process to help identify your target audience, and think about simple things outside of the box. Where are those people that you're trying to sell to? Where are they getting their information? What newspapers do they read? What podcasts do they listen to? What websites do they visit? Right? What are their pain points? What are they doing? Socially, right? Because you might be able to connect with them on a personal level instead of on a business level. So if you know that a prospect or the types of people that you're selling to just coincidentally are all marathon runners, right? Or all, like to donate to a particular organization, then there could be sponsorship opportunities where you can get in front of them, showing your support to what's important to them and build a relationship that way. So there's a lot that can be done when you really sit and think and analyze about who it is you're trying to sell to. So that you can kind of be able to approach them in a very unique and compelling way.
Yeah, I agree. I think just kind of blasting out like generic emails is the way to go. I think, like you said, it's important to get on a personal level, and I'd rather have someone email me with something that they found, some information about my favorite sports team or something of that nature, to kind of break the ice and not ask for something to begin with, but maybe offer something in return or something of value, and then work into the conversation, you're offering or what you have in terms of delivering to that prospective prospect.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Can you tell the audience how they can find you online or anything you have going on?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I'm always available. I'm happy to talk with anybody that wants to understand, marketing automation, to learn about it, to be educated, and to see if it is a fit. Or if anybody that's already utilizing, similar platforms to manage, their sales pipeline and their leads, you can reach me at my personal number is 845-201-9353. My direct extension is number 6. You can also email me if you like. It's jason@cultivize.com, which is CULT as in Tom, IV as in Victor, IZE.com. Of course, you can go to the Cultivize website. We have a lot of great resources there that are available to share with everyone. And you could also find me on LinkedIn. I am pretty active on LinkedIn, always providing a lot of content and resources, and love to just really, have conversations with people as well, both virtually and through, social media. So you can find us there. And also, lastly, we're on, Facebook and Twitter. So if you look us up, you'll find us someplace if you put us into the search. And Roman, I just want to say thank you for the invitation today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and hope that your audience is going to find value out of our conversation.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping on today.
My pleasure.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. Without Anchor, I don't think I would have ever started a podcast. It's so easy to use, and I record most of my episodes from my phone. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
This podcast has been brought to you by Nova Zora Digital. Find out how Nova Zora Digital can help your company grow online. Learn more at novazoradigital.com. Until next time, all you digital savages.